Makes you wanna go. Makes you wanna go. Na 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 na. Makes you wanna go.
Hey, Mickey G, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Golden Bronze. How are you?
I'm fine. Listen, I want to thank you for coming today. I know you're very busy as well, and I want to thank our audience for stopping by today to gab with Golden Bronze and see what we're talking about today. We always have something interesting, sometimes funny, sometimes educational, sometimes just simply our point of view about whatever it is we're talking about. And we would like to share that with you. You might learn something and you might teach us something, who knows? But Gab with Golden Bronze is a sponsor of Golden Swan Cadre, which is a 501c3 domestic nonprofit organization that advocates against domestic violence towards women and for women's health issues, including women's maternity health, mental health, self-care, and mindfulness. And all of those are some of our initiatives. Not only that, we support ladies once they leave the domestic violence centers and start their single family journeys ahead of households. Oftentimes, when they have to leave home, they leave with just the clothing on their back. So that's where we step in. Once they leave the domestic violence centers, we try to help them with their needs list, whether that be furnish a room or decor it or children's clothes or whatever it is that they have on their needs list. We will adopt one room and help them get a start on their single family journey. We also support domestic violence centers directly with their needs list, and we also volunteer in the communities that we serve. So we would just like to ask you to support us if you feel the need to do so. Okay, our topic today, excuse me for that, is menopause. And we are two ladies that are middle aged. I think that starts at age 45 now. So we'll say we 45 plus. So we have encountered some of this. So we wanted to talk about it. I see a lot of this circulating on social media. Harry talked about it. A lot of social what would you call them? Social media engagers have talked about it. So we're going to bring it up now. Menopause is a natural biological process that marks the end of a woman's menstrual cycles and reproductive years. It typically occurs between, as I said, 45 and 55, but it can happen earlier or later. You can be as late as 60 starting menopause. Menopause is officially diagnosed after 12 consecutive months without a menstrual period. You can even start menopause as early as 35. So it ranges in age. There are stages of menopause. The first transitional stage is called perimenopause. The word peri, P-R-I, stands for before. And so before menopause, the transitional leading part is where your hormone levels, particularly your estrogen and your progesterone, begin to fluctuate up and down. And so you get symptoms like irregular periods, or you might miss a period for a month or two. A lot of times people think they're pregnant, but in fact, they're going through perimenopause. You get hot flashes, mood swings, you're all over the place. You might open up the refrigerator and stand in it because your body feels like it's in an oven. And as soon as you get cooled off, then you start sweating again. And you just kind of don't know what's happening to your body. It's going through changes.
Yeah.
Then after you get through that phase, you have menopause. My co-host goes, yeah, like that's me. We'll talk about some of the things that we did during these phases in just a moment, but it's funny and it's not funny, okay? Only to be a woman, all righty? Menopause itself is when you have your final menstrual period. It stops completely. You don't get any more. Now you're in menopause. But it doesn't stop there. We're so blessed. We get to go through postmenopause. And postmenopause is the years following menopause, of course, where you symptoms those same symptoms that you had before may persist. But typically they stabilize as hormone levels level off. It can take another 5+ years for those hormone levels to level off. When you act normal again. But during the menopause, perimenopause stages, you will get these hot flashes and you'll get the night sweats and you'll be hot 1 minute, cold the next minute, and hot again the next minute. Then you get the mood changes and the instability and the depression. And 1 minute you're happy and the next minute you're crying. You don't know why you're crying. And somebody just tells you something constructively and you break down and you start crying. And then you're like, why am I crying? I don't know why I'm crying. And then you can't sleep at night. And so you're up all night long talking to the night, you and Perry are having a conversation at night because you can't sleep. Everybody else is sound asleep. The unfortunate physical part is when you have the vaginal dryness and you might experience this. These don't happen to everybody and not in this particular order. And you may not experience it all and you may experience all of it. Where the vaginal dryness, it becomes uncomfortable during intimacy. Some people gain weight, particularly around the abdomen, whereas other people may lose weight. You have thinning of the hair and your skin becomes drier. Not always, but it can. And you can, and not always, have a decreased libido. So those are the joys of menopause. And it would be nice if everybody that wants to be a woman could share in all of the experience and not just dressing up like a woman. Yes, I said it. I sure did. I think it's fair to have all the experience, not just to look like one, but have a baby, have a cramp, experience menopause, experience the pains and everything, the hormone changes with pregnancy. Yeah. All right. I digress. That's my opinion anyway.
Oh, Lord. It all sounds like doom.
You sound like you're scared to elaborate on this. But let me let you elaborate when we come right back. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming back to listen to Gab with Golden Bronze. We do appreciate it. So I want my co-host to elaborate a little bit. Help me get out of the doggy house if you can.
Ooh, bow wow. I was just kind of laughing because it sounds like such gloom and doom and walking into near death and hot flashes. I know about it. I've experienced you get so hot, it's like someone turned the oven on in your body. You know how you see gas heat come up? Feels like they're turning it up in your body and you just want to take everything off, but that's illegal. Don't do that. Or get the quickest fan and open the clothes and blowing down your clothes. It's like a panic heat. And then you're completely cold.
You're right. Make it make sense, people.
Yeah. Covers on, covers off, covers on, covers off. So and then your moods go kind of, and people think you're crazy, and you question, you gaslight yourself, and wonder, have I lost my mind? There's so many things that happen in menopause. It's not for the faint of heart, for sure. Let me tell you that.
Right.
Oh, Lord.
Did you get any, did you experience, besides the hot flashes, any of those? Like I used to have trouble sleeping at night. I could be dead tired. Mickey G, tired. Go to bed and be wide awake. Me and Perry having a conversation over here. She keeping me up all night, okay? But I'm tired and I can't sleep.
Yeah, in fact, the other night, I had my gown on and it was wet. I was just perspiring at night. Because I sleep under blanket comforter, all that, because I like my face cool. Listen, Everything
Yes.
was everything off. Move the covers, let the ceiling fan take over. I was hot and then I was cool. I started creeping the covers back on. It is the wildest thing that happens during
That's
menopause.
funny.
And the weight gain, listen, I need to go to the gym more times a week, but that's another story. But the weight gain, the mood swings, the crying when you don't expect it, the hormones are bouncing up and down like it's in a rodeo. It it's not for weak folks to go through. You just have to go through it. But it's a blessing because guess what? We can't have babies anymore.
After you go, and
No
after
babies,
you go through the perimenopause, no more babies.
no
Yes.
more babies,
But it's
no more,
interesting, that women,
yeah, no more monthly cycles.
it's interesting that, right.
Yeah,
It's interesting that women are having babies in their late 40s and 50s. And I wonder how that plays into menopause. But that's a whole nother day, whole
yeah,
nother conversation, and a whole nother TV show. But
yeah,
does make you wonder if it could start as early as 35, between 35 and 60, anywhere in between there. There are
yeah,
women nowadays are becoming pregnant, believe it or not, at 50. Well, Janet Jackson is one. I think
yeah,
Tamron Hall is another.
yeah,
Kenya Moore is another one. You
right,
know, they're at 50. And I don't know if they had at IVF. I don't know by what means
yeah,
they became impregnated. That would answer my question that I'm about to say. I was wondering with all the symptoms of menopause, how that happens. But if as long as you have a uterus, you can have in vitro and carry a baby. So that kind of answered my own question. So especially if it was eggs from when they were younger.
right,
So
right.
never mind answering that question. I probably answered my own question. So
Yeah. Well, I had a sister-in-law who told me years ago that she didn't stop having menstrual cycles till she was 65. So I guess those same
wow.
women could conceive a child. If it ends late, if you're still having those,
They can,
then you can still conceive a
absolutely
baby.
can.
Yeah.
Now think about in our great grandparents' days when they didn't have birth control. Now I did the math one time because my great great grandmother died before I was ever born. My father's grandmother, her name was Hannah Wilson,
Mhm.
and uh, she was still having children while her oldest children were having children. You know what I'm saying? Because there was no
Right,
birth control back in
right,
those days. And
right.
so one of my dad's aunties was close to his age by his mother, who was her sister, if that makes sense. So I said all that to say I answered my own question. As long as you have a uterus,
Right,
you can have a baby.
right.
And you have you haven't gone through menopause.
Mhm. Yeah. Well,
Or
I
if
do
you're
know that.
going through it, even I guess.
Yeah. Well, I do know that I have an aunt that's 3 years older than me and one that's 7 years older than me.
Yeah,
So my
yeah.
mother had a baby right after her mother had a baby. And so
There
I know
you
that
go.
from experience. Yeah. Later in life,
Yeah,
everyone's having
there you
babies at the
go.
same time.
Yeah. And there was no birth control, and probably if the next somebody get in office, we won't have it again. So, people will be having babies,
Mhm. Yeah.
period. I'm
I
gonna
hate
put
to
a
think
period
that.
right there.
Yeah.
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 So, some of the management of these symptoms that we talked about, the hot flashes, mood changes, sleep disturbances, weight gain, thinning of the hair, decreased libido, some of them you can regulate with regular exercise, a balanced diet. And I guess if you're having the thinning hair and the weight gain, that would be, and the balanced diet, that would be, I mean, the sleep disturbance, that would be where the balanced diet comes in, because you would have to alleviate things like caffeine, sugar, um, carbs and things like that. Eat more leafy greens and things like that to eliminate those things. And Stress management helps alleviate, although I don't know how stress management can help menopause symptoms, but that's what WebMD said. Stress management can be alleviated by exercise.
Mhm.
So you can also do HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy. But with that, you need to see a physician. That's my disclaimer. Don't go by anything I'm telling you. You need to see a physician and be prescribed some type of hormone therapy if he thinks it is best for you. It can alleviate severe symptoms, but it does carry with it risks such as blood clots, breast cancer, and stroke. So by all means, don't go buy it over the counter and take it unless you have consulted with your physician. And I'll finish up in just a few minutes when we come right back. All right, we are back. So yes, that's my disclaimer. Hormone replacement therapy helps some people, but should be given under the recommendation and the supervision of a physician. And then they do have the non-hormonal treatments, um, such like antidepressants, as well as natural remedies. But the antidepressants also should be recommended and prescribed by your physician. So I'm not recommending any of this. I'm just saying these are some things that are have been used and are useful for alleviating or eliminating some of the symptoms that come along with menopause. You can use natural remedies. There's things that you can find on the internet that are homeopathic remedies, non-pharmaceutical, that alleviate the symptoms like hot flashes and mood swings. And that my conclusion of menopause, and I hope that it's been helpful to someone today. You want to add something to that, Nikki, before we move on?
Oh, I think I may have said enough. However, it's not the end of the world. Like she said, there is help out there. There's all kinds of treatments that you can go through. Like she said, talk to your doctor, or I think they have even holistic practitioners that you can talk with. So yeah, talk to your medical person and see what you need to do for that. But it did get better though.
Yeah, it's just something we have to go through, ladies. And it's a buzz on the internet, so I thought I would talk about it as well. But I also want to talk about a topic um, that is, when you get married, are you marrying the person that asked you to marry them, or the woman that you're marrying, or are you also marrying her family? And the reason I bring that up is because a few years ago, probably four-ish, I was engaged and the subject came up that I'm not marrying your family. I am just marrying you. And I have always been one that probably was, I'm very included my family into most everything. We had family dinners on Sunday, went to church together, holidays, and it was just a given that it was going to be a family affair. And at some point, I probably was too inclusive with some things, but I learned through years what was safe to talk about with family and what was more private between you and your spouse. But so I did some digging, and they said when you get married, you primarily are committing to a lifelong partnership with the person you love. But in many cases, you're also connecting with their family to some extent, not to the full extent, but to some extent. How much family becomes involved in the marriage can vary widely depending on cultural backgrounds, personal and family dynamics. And probably the person that said this to me didn't have a close family dynamic. And so those are things I think that before you get married, you should probably talk about. But it does say that you're primarily marrying the person and not the family. And your marriage is first and foremost about you and your partner. It's about building a life together, making decisions as a couple, and working through challenges as a team. And in doing so, you have to set those individual boundaries. You and your partner may establish boundaries regarding the extent to which the family influences your decisions, your conflicts, and the time that you spend with your spouse versus your family. So, to an extent, that person was right. You're not supposed to exclude family, but you have to together decide mutually to what extent you involve the family. And before I go on, I'll let my co-host elaborate on that a little bit.
I had many thoughts about that. When I was last married, we had a blended family, and he had a child, I had four. And so we blended those together and we brought our families together. I remember the first Christmas, we brought our whole family together because we were one family. And that's kind of how we did that in that culture. However, the intimate, private parts of our relationship was between he and I. But the family was our support. You know, if we needed support, those closer family members were good supporters for us. So it kind of went both ways. And then sometimes, remember the movie Divorce in the Black?
Yes, we did a
Remember?
review on that.
Okay,
Mhm.
so remember the family she married into? She
Yes.
married a husband, but that family was something special.
Cuckoo,
So
Cocoa Puffs.
so sometimes you get a whole lot. You need to know who you're marrying and who their family is because you might get more than you bargained for.
Right. Exactly. Well, and oftentimes you can do a lot of probing and as much investigation as you possibly can and still not find out what you need to do. No, because people present sometimes they're present who you want them to be and not necessarily who they really are, which comes out in time. And that's unfortunate, but it happens more often than not. Yeah. That's why the divorce rate is 60 some percent.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
also, I tell you, in marrying into families, in some cultures, marriage involves a strong sense of family unity. It's an absolute must, where extended families play a major role in decision making and day to day life. There are many cultures where the family determines where you buy a house, how much should you spend for the house, when you should buy a house, who's going to live in the house that you buy, and stuff like that.
Mhm, mhm.
And we know some people that are affected by cultural influence with family. Um, and it's just something that they may not necessarily agree with, but they have to because that's their culture. At least that's what we've been told. And when you marry someone, their family becomes part of your social circle. Like I mentioned, it was something every Sunday we had either a big dinner at my house with my family, meaning like my mother, father, brother, his wife, kids, sometimes
Right.
our kids' friends, or holidays. They were always there for holidays, family events, and general life circumstances that often involve interaction with both families. Now, that is something I think too, also, that people need to talk about before they become a union, you know, and
Mhm.
do things together. I can tell you, I cannot remember one time that my kids, my ex-husband's family came together with my family at an event in one house, whether it's holiday, Sunday, it didn't happen.
Mhm.
And I think there was a difference in how we were raised. But you know what? I'll get into that in just. Okay, thank you. We're back. So I think, the reason why I said those things need to be talked about beforehand, because I cannot remember one time, which is unfortunate, where his family, mother, father, brother, sister, and my family, mother, came together as a union, as you mentioned. I don't know if you meant in that way, just his kids and your kids, but I'm talking about parents and grandparents all together along with the nieces and nephews of both sides. Never happened. And it was just a difference in how we were raised. And so the subject never came up during the courting phase and the engagement phase. And then during the marriage phase, I couldn't make it happen. They would always cancel or not be interested in doing it or whatever. And I didn't get angry. It's just something I didn't understand, but I finally quit trying to make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, you frame it as a couple what you want. You know, for us, he was closer to my family than his own family. And when we first got married, our first Christmas, that's when we had both sides of the family together. There were 43 people in our house for dinner. I said I would never do it again, but that's a whole other thing. And so we had Thanksgivings. They would come to our house because our house was the hub of the family. And so they would all travel to our house to visit. And so we did very well blending families. But it's important that you, I think it's important that you meet the family. You get a better perspective of who you're marrying by meeting who poured into their lives their whole life.
Yeah, I met the family. I just couldn't get the two families to come together under one roof at the same time. So
Yeah.
I tried several times and it never happened. And it would, my family would show up. His would always at the last minute be some reason why. So I quit trying. But
Right.
yeah, I absolutely met them beforehand. And when I grew up, Mickey G, my mother and father, our home was the hub. But I bet you 50 people would go through that house during a holiday. My mother, sister, and her kids, us, my mother's brother and his kids, my uncles, friends. It was a glorious time on holidays. And that dynamic was what I was used to and what I tried to continue on. That didn't happen, but you know, that it's what you get used to. So yeah, I fully understand what you mean about meeting people. And we did meet, we just couldn't, I don't know. My mother never had a chance to meet my children's other cousins and aunties and uncles and stuff
Yeah.
because they wouldn't come together. But anyway, I digress. So depending on the family's closeness and or expectations, you may find yourself navigating family traditions, like I just mentioned in my family, family values and expectations, such as helping out with caregiving or maintaining certain family familiar roles. A positive relationship with your partner's family can enhance your own support network and enrich your lives with love and connection. And so we did, I mean, we had that part because we would go visit. And even after he and I divorced, the nieces and nephews would kept in touch with me and still to this day call me aunt by my legal name. You know, it was just a matter of getting everybody under one roof was not possible. It didn't happen. So, but, and I still think we had some connection, but not that deep, deep connection that I was looking for. You know, we never got that.
Right. You know, you mentioned something earlier about cultural differences in marriage. I know there are a lot of African families from different countries in Africa that they have to have permission from their families to marry this person, and sometimes they
Yeah.
arrange it. Now, I've heard also that if a man wants to marry a woman, he has to pay a bride price. So
Yeah,
there's
they
a
still do that to this
right.
day.
I know someone who recently did that. They had to pay a
I do
bride
too.
price and bring gifts to the parents. And until they had that money raised, until they had everything ready, they could not marry their daughter. They would not release their daughter to marry them. And so that's a cultural thing where the family is highly involved in the marriage.
And the other thing that I don't know if you said this, but I'm speaking about a Nigerian friend that I have. Um, Not only does the man have to pay a bride price for the father accepts the price, he also has to be able to maintain the standard of living that she has been accustomed to. So like if she's accustomed to having a lot of things, he has to be able to at least provide her what she's already been accustomed to, or they won't give permission for that marriage in some cultures in Africa. I'm not speaking for all of them, but from speaking to my friend who is Nigerian, that's the way it works there. You have to at least be able to keep her at the level of lifestyle she grew up having. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, in-law dynamics. Conflicts can arise if there are different expectations regarding boundaries. Financial support, or often the extended family should be involved in the couple's life. In-law dynamics. Sometimes in-laws think that they have that right to say what you shouldn't do, what you should be wearing, shouldn't wear, how to treat somebody, not to treat somebody. And it can cause conflicts within your relationship with your partner if that person doesn't stand ground for you or provide protection against, something like that.
Yeah. That mother-in-law thing.
Yeah.
That's a notorious
Sometimes,
relationship.
and sometimes it's sister-in-law things.
Oh yeah. That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. But they make a lot of jokes about mother-in-law.
Yeah, they do. Mothers telling their sons you shouldn't put up with this, and you shouldn't put up with that, and she should do this, and she should do that. All up in your business, not knowing what you're doing because they don't live in your house.
That's right.
But the husband has to be able to stand on to protect his wife from that.
That's right.
Which a lot of men don't do.
Yeah.
Couples sometimes. Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Couples sometimes need to navigate issues where loyalty to one family or spouse becomes tension point. Like we were talking about the mother-in-law thing. The son might think his loyalty lies with his mother, when in fact it should lie with his wife, because she has become one. They have become one in their lives. And a lot of times they get that twisted. They don't know when to tell mother back off, and we'll be right back. Okay, thank you for joining. So those balancing loyalties, this requires communication and mutual understanding between partners. If you feel like your spouse, whether it's the husband or the wife, this goes both ways, allows a mother or a father to overstep their boundaries, because fathers will do it too with daughters, there has to be a conversation with the parent of whoever is doing it from the child of that parent. You let them know, yes, I love you. You will never leave my life, but now I have a wife, and she comes first. And you cannot be afraid to say that. And if you are a lady, you have to be able to say that to your daddy. I love you. You will never leave my life, but he is now first position under God. God first, then husband and wife. And surely they understand that, because they're in the a union just like it, where it should be the same in their own marriage, your mother and father's marriage. So oftentimes, if you're raised in a family where the father practices that, he respects his wife and shows that respect in public, the son is going to do the same. And the daughter will know how the position goes, and that she should be likewise with her husband. It's the dysfunctional families that there's a breakdown here, where they don't get that mother and father in the same house. So they don't get that example set for them as a child. So they don't know how it goes, which causes domestic abuse within a family when the dynamics are off. And they're off because they don't have the example that was set for them. They don't have that roadmap to go by to even know how to be a husband or how to be a wife according to God's standards. So, balancing loyalties can be difficult. And ultimately, how much you marry the family along with the person depends on the values of yourself, your partner, and the respective families involved. Strong communication about boundaries and expectations before marriage should occur, and during marriage continuously. And that is the key to managing these family dynamics. You cannot be afraid to face them when they occur. People will challenge you. People will challenge you in your family, and if you want to be a woman that the man provides provision and protection, then you have
Mhm.
to honor that and protect him as well in his position in your life with your family.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And don't embarrass your partner in front of your family. That's very important. Not to
All
um,
right.
make their position less in your life in front of your family. You don't choose them over him, and you don't do things to him that cuts him down, especially in front of your family. And if you're talking to your family too much about things and they don't know how to balance, they don't know how to take the couple side rather than husband or wife side, then you might have a conflict there. And then they don't forget when you guys get it together, they don't forget they're holding that grudge. So you have to be careful as far as the balance of communication between the families. Sure.
Nikki G, I know a woman that does that to her husband. I know I've been embarrassed in the room. It didn't
Mm,
involve me, but spoke down to him in front of me
mm,
and laugh and poke fun at him
mm,
in
mm,
front of me. And I may have looked over and made contact with him during that
mm.
time, but I felt bad. Well,
Right.
I said nothing, but I
Mm,
felt bad and wondered how often does that happen? You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
um, it
Yeah.
happened in front of me. So does it have, is it, I didn't know if I should address it or just let it
Mm,
slide. So it was none of my business. He didn't say anything. I didn't say anything,
yeah.
but you're
Yeah.
exactly right. That is emasculation one
Right.
on one,
Right. And if you don't
you know,
respect them, how do you expect anyone else to respect them? You know, you're showing them how to treat your
you know.
spouse. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm wondering if women do that so they think that maybe that will make you disinterested, which I would never try to talk to another woman's husband knowingly, knowing he was married anyway. I mean, you can sometimes not know somebody's married and have a conversation with them, but sometimes I wonder if they do that, Mickey G, so it'll be a turn off to the woman. They're so insecure
Mm,
in their own relationship. Yes, to you, but it's possible. They could be so insecure in their own relationship, they want him to look a certain way so that maybe you're not interested in talking to him.
mm, it could be. It could be. I would think if the man doesn't speak up, the woman that's looking on might say, "Well, she doesn't treat you like a man. I can." I wonder if it's that kind of thing too. That's why I was kind of,
Yeah,
just
I never
thinking.
thought about that.
Yeah, says,
It
she treats you
never
pretty
thought
bad.
about that.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. That might backfire.
Well, the fact that he's married, I would hope not. But I hear you. I see your point, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Never to pursue a man while he has a wife, never pursue a wife while she has a husband. But in the mind of the people that we don't know, you don't know if that might be their motive. Like I said, it might be a woman's motive to make you disinterested. And on the other hand, what my co-host said, it could make you very interested. It could
mhm,
work both ways. So,
mhm,
you know,
mhm.
who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah,
But I don't know why women do it, I guess is the point I'm
yeah,
making.
yeah,
It makes them look bad to me when they do it. Just
yeah.
like when I see a man out in public talking disrespectful to his woman, that doesn't make me desire him. I feel
Mm,
sorry for her.
right,
That's verbal abuse
right,
for both a man and a woman. And we advocate against that. So I guess that's why I think it's despicable. But
right, right,
I
right.
digress. And so today we hope that our show, Menopause, and when you get married, are you marrying the person that you're in love with or the family? We hope that that has been beneficial, uh, thought provoking, if nothing else,
Yeah,
to the audience out there. And so
yeah,
we appreciate your taking the time to hear us talk about menopause and make a little funny about it. It's not funny, but if you knew
yeah,
what we went through, Go, my goodness, I don't want to be a woman. You might, you know, they have to do more than just look pretty. They go through a lot that we didn't even know what they go through.
Yeah, yeah. I should have
And
brought my
Marion,
giant fan.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Mickey, you have some comments that I would like for you to make to the
Okay.
people out there, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right, I'll be happy to. Thank you again for joining us here on Gab of Gold and Bronze. And I want to let you know that you can see the Gab of Gold and Bronze show on the DuPont TV network, brought to you by Village Global Network TV. That is so exciting. We'll be on 5 days per week, Monday through Friday, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Tune in, and we look forward to seeing you there. So, now for some business. Now, since Gap of Gold and Bronze is a sponsor of Golden Swan Cadre, I'm going to explain to you how you can donate to that charity. Chime, you enter $ Golden Swan Cadre. The G, the S, and the C are uppercase. That way you can find us properly. PayPal, thegoldenswancadre@gmail.com. Our website, www.goldenswancadre.com. Now on social media, you can donate through Instagram. Go to the charity section and enter the official _ Golden Swan Cadre. And Facebook, visit the charity section as well and enter Golden Swan Cadre. Thank you for your donations in advance. Join us in making a positive impact for women today.
Thank you, Mickey G. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much.
You're
All
welcome.
right, everybody. We appreciate your stopping by to watch Gab with Gold and Bronze. And we invite you to come back tomorrow. We always have some random topics to talk about. Sometimes they're serious conversations. Sometimes we just get to talking and having fun, and we're very just down to earth and transparent. Whatever we're doing, we invite you to come by and share 45 minutes to an hour with Gold and Bronze and Mickey G on Gab Gold and Bronze. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.